we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and more profits. Now, today's guest I'm super excited about. It's my very first female on my podcast. It's Dr. Jennifer Walden. She's a very well-known board-certified plastic surgeon practicing in Austin, Texas, as well as managing 2 med spas there and then 1 in New York. And just as a side issue, I used to have a love interest, actually, Dr. Walden, in Lakeway. And right in your neighborhood. And we used to go to Bee Cave. I remember that whole area. And I actually bought a little real estate there for rental property business great. Because it sure is cheaper than Sausalito, California. So I know the area very well. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm still single because I wasn't willing to move there. It's just not my style. I just, it was so gosh darn hot there. I'm not a redhead. I'm not good with the heat. Yeah. But anyway, I love the area. It was gorgeous. It's a great place to practice. So good for you. And then you were in New York. I used to go to New York a lot, and I used to meet some doctors while I was there. And I remember calling you, and you probably thought I was like, who are you? Like, what do you want? And this was many years ago. And I just wanted to say hi because I saw you being the up and coming, and sure enough, boy, you've come a long way. So getting back to your bio, Dr. Walden is a very active member of the American Society for Aesthetic Plastic Surgery, otherwise known as AACS. That is the member or medical society to be in. And she was the first woman on the executive committee of AACS. And now listen to this. She's on track to become the very first female president of this global authority in the field of aesthetic surgery. Good for you. She's received a ton of PR, which I'd love to talk about that as well. And Harper's Bazaar magazine named her one of the nation's 24 best beauty surgeons in the United States. And she's also received awards such as Texas Super Doctors and Castle Connolly's Top Docs. So Dr. Walden, I'd like to welcome you to Beauty in the Biz.
Thank you so much for having me, Catherine. I'm so excited to be here today.
Oh, that's terrific. All right. Now, of course, we have to talk about the only thing that there is to talk about right now, and that's COVID-19. So Can you give us an update on what's happening in your area?
Sure. So I'm in Austin, Texas. So we've had an uptick recently in cases and hospitalizations because the governor did reopen our state. So basically, at kind of around May 8th is when we started to do surgery again in Austin, and our medical spas opened up about a week later. And the numbers have never been as overwhelming as New York City, I might say, although, it's distressing, but Texas being a very business savvy state has been keeping their nose, to the grindstone, and we've opened back up, but we're doing well. Patients want surgery and they do want procedures, so we're just having to follow all the social distancing guidelines in Texas, even though we've had a slight surge since reopening.
But how much has that affected your processes, the day-to-day? How many is your workflow or patient flow down by half, by what?
So, it's a backlog, basically. With the phone rings off the hook, we have, patient hours booked out through the summer. I see patients usually 1 day a week on Tuesdays for consultations, new patient consultations. And I have a nurse practitioner who also will see patients and do a complimentary consultation for me. And then we'll review the case and get back to them for those patients who don't, maybe don't want to pay a consultation fee or just doing a little bit more educational shopping. But basically, it's really just kind of backlogged us. So the patient flow is there, but they're now kind of in line waiting because we only see one patient at a time. They'll come straight from their car into the lobby, get screened for temperature and any, past exposure, that sort of thing, and taken straight to the room. They have to wear a mask, and as do all of my providers, and I wear a mask. So when it's used to see patients and they were, in 8 treatment rooms at one time, and you'd roll through a Tuesday and see maybe 45 patients, now it's down to 1 a day. So it's really not that I don't think they're afraid to come in. They're very grateful of the security and the safety with what we're doing, but our processes have just slowed it down, really. we're able to book the surgery though. There's only 2 pairs of hands I have, and I can only do 1 surgery at a time. So for a surgeon, in a sense, as long as I'm able to do that surgery safely in my OR, then my surgery schedule is healthy now.
I hope everyone caught that pearl that you just threw out there. When you have to do consultations and you have that patient who won't pay the consult, because it's a big deal, because you need to value your time. And I highly recommend, especially in today's world, people can be pretty flaky, so you've got to charge a consult fee. However, there's still a group who will do the surgery with you, but they're just caught up on the consult fee. They just won't pay.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So for you to have plan B in your pocket saying, no problem, I still will offer a free, your staff is saying, well, you can still have a free consultation. You'll just meet with our nurse practitioner, and then she'll meet with Dr. Walden. I just think that's brilliant. I hope everyone caught it.
And I actually, I love meeting my patients and talking to them, but I actually prefer that because they're able to kind of talk to some of the women that maybe their BMI is a little high and they need to lose some weight, and they're able to kind of sort through some of those things with them so that, it's so much more efficient by the time I get those charts and pictures and I'm going over those with Carly, my nurse practitioner. Those people are kind of the ones that, are ready for surgery, and it is very good for my time efficiency, time management as well. So I kind of prefer it. So we've seen an uptick in people going to the nurse practitioners first rather than me, because for me, they have to wait for a Tuesday in July rather than they could see Carly next week. So Carly sees patients for me pretty much every day of the week. So that's nice.
By the way, talking about staff, how big of an issue has it been making them feel safe, making them come back? Have you had any pushback on staff saying, I'm not comfortable and I'd rather stay home?
No, I haven't yet. By the, at the beginning, when we first went on lockdown, they were scared and they didn't want to work one more day. I tried to push through to Friday. I remember the week we were going to go on lockdown, I tried to push them through to Friday, and they were like, no. So, and then the governor then said, you can't do those things, but they got scared. And so, of course, everybody was home for so long. By the time the governor loosened those restrictions, they were ready to come back. Everybody voiced an interest and so ready, even though they were, I think almost all of my staff then were on unemployment by then, except maybe 1 or 2 that helped me every day in the office with some of the operations and the online shipments. But they didn't mind coming back. I think there's situations where you might have someone who might think it feel very nice to stay at home and get unemployment. And I'm a very lucky person. I have a great staff, and they're motivated and they wanted to come back, and they're part of a team. So that was great. And in New York, we're still closed there, but they're very motivated too. And they would come back sooner. If they could come back tomorrow, they would.
Gotcha. This is something that I'm concerned about. And it seems frivolous, but I don't think it is. In our industry, this is all about relationships. And especially somebody like you have really tight relationships with your patients and with your staff. And when everyone's wearing masks and all of this protective gear, do you feel like, does it feel different? Does it feel cold? Do you feel like you're still able to bond?
I think for the patients, for me, I've now had 2 office hours. It's hard for me to talk through a consult because I'm really concentrating and talking a lot during that, brief 30-minute time I get to meet them. It's difficult for me to actually verbally talk through a consult because I'm wearing a cloth mask, kind of with my logo on it. And I just realized I don't talk so much in surgery, but to sit there and go through everything, it kind of gets in the way. I kind of would have to, get a little breath of air. And so it physically was a little difficult for me. And I also felt to them, I would say, this is hard for me to bond with you. I usually am able to shake your hand. You can see my face and I can see yours. So for those people that I'm meeting for the first time, the patients, that is, it's been more difficult. I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I want to take it down. And staff, not as much, just because we know each other very, very well. We don't like wearing masks all the time, but we have to. So we even made masks because we didn't know if we were going to never get any from McKesson again when we were shipping. So we made masks. They bonded over that. Like they made some masks with filters, We had that. So it's not been really hard with the staffing, but I think it's harder when you're meeting new patients and trying to bond with them and examine their face, you know, and we're kind of moving around a mask. It's hard, but the patients have all been super nice and like they come in prepared. They come in with their own N95 masks. So they're prepared, they're educated.
And then are you doing virtual consultations? Because I think that's really helpful. If you can't see them, you know, live, at least they can see all of you virtually.
Right. And for, you know, to be completely honest, the virtual consultation piece, we kind of did some of that before COVID, right? Because people were coming in for surgery from out of town. But we had much more once we went on lockdown. The nurses and I have an aesthetic fellow, the nurses and my aesthetic fellow, Dr. Zaluzik, were the ones who really did the brunt of the online consultations. And because I was really busy with running kind of this new e-commerce project. So they did that and the patients didn't mind. And what Kim, my front desk coordinator, basically gave the patients an option. Would you rather do an online consultation now this week, or would you like to wait until we open back up? And she said about 50% to 60% wanted to wait and meet me live rather than an online consultation. So we gave patients that option and certainly opened it up to them. And I saw a fair amount during the lockdown. But the way we did it, we did it more where we would talk on the phone, maybe talk like this, and then have them send their photographs in, and I could then review the case and look at the photographs rather than. I think it's uncomfortable for them. They felt like uncomfortable going like, okay, now let me show you my breast. It's a very strange situation, you know, in cosmetic surgery, you're exposing a part of your body. And so we gave them that out of like, why don't you just go take some photos of yourself in the bathroom, use a frontal, use these guidelines and send them to us. And so that's how we've done it. But yeah, a fair amount still are doing that too.
So now that you're knee deep into this and back again, do you feel like you're going to be A-okay? Do you feel like you're going to slog through this for another year? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
So, I mean, it's so uncertain right now what is going to happen. I think that is the part that's anxiety provoking for us as surgeons. We're used to being in control. We have that type A mentality of we want to control the situation. And there's one thing you have to just really understand, go to bed understanding, is there's no way we can control this, no way we can control this situation. So we're going to have to make the best of us and know this. I mean, I just keep reminding myself of, you know, Bible passage, I find spirituality to be comforting, but this too shall pass. This will pass, but it may take time, a lot of time, and then it may resurge, that sort of thing. So right now, sure, I kind of feel like slogging is a good word for what we're doing. I feel like we've been slogging through it for a while, and I think we're going to slog through it for a long while. I don't think things are going to go back to normal for a long time, if ever. But I think things will improve week by week, month by month. I mean, we're seeing that. We're seeing curves flattening in many, many states. And so I think it will get better, and we'll get more used to the new normal too.
So regarding non-surgical versus surgical, how much of that, what was the proportions before COVID, and have they changed now during COVID?
Before COVID, I would say, you know, about 50% of, 50% of what we do is non-surgical and 50% surgical. I have two surgeons, myself and the aesthetic fellow. And then, like you said, we have two medical spas in Austin with a variety of providers. I think it hasn't changed much. I mean, I need a little bit more time to understand, but the surgery is certainly there. That the patients still want surgery. You would think they'd be very scared to do that, but we're testing everyone pre-op, and they want surgery. And then people are lined up pretty much out the door, literally, and they're waiting in the parking lot for Botox. I think at first blush, it's more medical spa, because those are easier things to attain and get. And people, I mean, we really think about it as or at least for me, it's like a manicure or a brow wax. Like, I need my Botox like I need my orange juice in the morning. So a lot of people once we sent an e-blast out that we were going to have safety precautions in place, but we're opening the med spa, we have, you know, like 5 or 6 lines, and those lights were going off on the phones for about 4 hours straight that morning. It was really crazy. I was picking up the phone. They were like, no, doctor, don't do that. Don't do that. So I was picking up the phone because I couldn't stand everybody being on hold. But I'd say that at first blush, the med spa patients are really what could maybe keep you going. If you were a state, say like for example, New York, if you're in a state like New York and they wouldn't let you start surgery, but they'd let you start doing radiofrequency or cool sculpting or Botox. But it seems like they're all lumping it together. But your med spa really could subsidize you and float that boat for a while, because people want those things like they want a haircut, really.
Right. But when you look at the math of it, because I'm still trying to understand the business math. A med spa, first of all, it's competitive. So typically there's a lot of price cutting, discounting, awareness, promos. But there's also a lot of overhead that goes with a med spa. And if you can't see that flow, that patient flow like you used to, and you're limited in the number of people you can see in a day, yet you've got to have all these people on board providing the services, does the math still work out for you?
So I think time is going to tell. I think time will tell that. I think in Austin, we're just now getting started back, and I agree with you. The overhead for a medical spa is breathtaking. And when we first went on lockdown, and I had to first digest the information over a period of 24 to 48 hours that the medical spas were closing in New York and Austin. I was like nauseated. I was like, oh my God, my overhead is amazing. And then you start hearing about the PPP. And then my sister is my CPA. She's a CPA, and she helped calm me down. But I was nauseated, for a good 24 hours there because of the overhead, exactly. And the staffing required, all those devices. But in Austin, it seems we're doing pretty good. Once they get their system down, they're getting people in and out. I'm sorry, you may hear my son in the background, but I guess that's part of
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. But he may yell in the background knowing I'm on a podcast. But I think that only time will tell. It'll be interesting in New York. Like I have the ability to do like geographic variations, like what's New York versus Texas, right? With med spa, and I do litmus testing and beta testing for devices, whether it's or specials or, what do New Yorkers want versus Texans. And we just haven't opened in New York, but that is it's a huge fear for sure. Austin has been okay. I mean, we're kind of getting our systems down and patients understand, but it will take obviously it's going to take months and months, or if not a year, and we'll feel some ramifications of the social distancing. But we have enough space. In Texas, a little more spacey than New York and less dense, like enough space, enough treatment rooms that we're able to kind of keep going. So that's good.
Just out of curiosity, how do you see the differences between New Yorkers and Austinites?
I think in general, I think, and I know this because I lived there, and I probably, came back to Texas like this, and people were like, woo. But New Yorkers just kind of know what they want, and they're right to the point, and very much, aware of every dime in their dollar. So you really, I'm not saying you have to be on point in any state you operate in, but New York, you've got to be on point with, every single dollar that they're spending, and they really want exactly what they want. And they don't take a lot of BS, as just straight to the point. And in Midtown Manhattan, your patient population is extremely intelligent and, college, grad school, educated. So that's my experience in New York. So, but I knew how to deal. I kind of knew how to deal with that. I'd become a New Yorker, and I'd had a surgical practice in New York for 8 years. So it didn't alarm me. Some of my staff from Austin, I had one staff member in particular who helped me a lot during that purchase of that or acquisition of that business. She was very alarmed by the way people would speak to her, and oh my God, they're so rude. They're so rude. It almost made me cry. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's not. Don't ever take it personally. That's just the way they speak, And she was like, oh, and she got used to it, and she got pretty, tough nuts about it. She got to be a New Yorker herself almost, but they were taken aback. Some of my Austinite staff were taken aback. Yeah, but Texans are, generally just very, very nice people. The New Yorkers are too, but I'm sure it sounds like the difference there.
Well, I'm wondering how New York handled you with your Texas accent, and you were really young and spunky. And
I know, yeah. I know. I look back and wonder how I did that too.
Yeah, that's not normal for them to say, "Oh, sure, come on in."
Be accepting of that, right? Yeah. And it took time. It took time. It took several years to really get going when private practice in New York. But yeah, you just have to, stand your ground and be independent, and all that good stuff.
How difficult is it to manage a med spa in New York when you are, what, a 4-hour flight away? How do you manage?
It's been. I have a medical director. Of course, I've always had one, and that would require that, of course. But I have a medical director there she's actually internal medicine trained at I'm blanking on the name, but it's in New York City. But it's one of the Ivy League schools. But she's internal medicine trained, and she kind of has a specialty in immune health and wellness. So that's been a good thing for this COVID and not kind of a reopening plan. But she's actually from the San Antonio area. She's lived her life in Brooklyn and trained at Mount Sinai, at Sinai. And so we hit it off. She's real, in other words, I can talk to her. She's real sweet, very easy exchange. And so that's great. Whereas, other medical directors have not been, just hadn't hit it off like that. So that's been good with Dr. Mary Laura Clasaris. Sounds like a Texan name. Her family lives in Austin. Out of all the small world, I met her in New York, but her family lives in Austin, has a business in Austin, like a bakery. So we're good. She helps me run that place. I'm very involved though. It's, with the digitization of everything, of life, and Amazon and ordering online, it has been not exceedingly hard to manage something from afar, as long as it's my baby, and I go and I visit maybe every 4 to 6 weeks. And I love New York City. And because I have that passion for it, I don't, I still have to take care of it, even if it's in crisis like right now. But it's been an interesting and fun experience, but I've gotten to the point where it gets a little on autopilot after a while. The first 6 months was hard, but now it's a lot better.
Good. And that leads us to your brand new, very well-timed online skincare store. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, and that's kind of serendipitous and kind of the way that worked out. I wanted to do a skincare line for a while, but I felt like it was going to be real hard. In the past, it's been hard. You talk to a rep, you order a product, the rep goes and talks to someone you hear back from in a day, your order takes, but now everything's online, right? Everything's on your iPhone, you have apps. And so I found the right companies to work with, and I decided to do my own skincare line because they could tailor products to me and help build my brand. And I work with a group in San Diego called Taylor and Pond, who are an amazing digital advertising agency that have worked with big name skincare brands. And so we're a good fit there. But that was all planned. The timeline for that was planned before we knew in the United States about COVID at all. That was planned months and months before. Mm-hmm. And that timeline just lined up. We were preparing for this launch after the new year, and some of the skincare products and their manufacturing compliance got delayed and that sort of thing. And my website, the Shopify site I put up, was getting delayed by the developer. He was working very hard on it, but I ended up with some project creep and had him do more and more and add more products and more things to it. So with that scope creep, we got pushed out literally to about the week or the week after COVID came, like around March 21st, I believe, when we're starting to hear about COVID and the possibility of shutting down businesses. Literally, it was that week. And so I turned to my advisors at Taylor and Pond, and I was like, well, so what do we do? And they were like, you absolutely launch now. Your heart is in this. There's no better time. People are going to just be looking at their phone and their computer screen all day long. The skincare's ready. You don't want it to sit on a shelf. We're here. You paid up, so we're going to do this now. And that's what in my heart, I knew that. I just needed to hear it. But, the senior executive there just said, we're doing this. And I was like, let's do it. So we launched that, and that ended up, serendipitously, it was something, I'm not saying it because it doesn't pay for your house or anything like that, or your child's private school, but it just helped to pay the bills a little bit during that lockdown period. And I got a chance to learn a lot about e-commerce because I couldn't operate. All I could do was work on this line, and shipments the orders started to come through so briskly, because I started to offer. I was like, what do people need? And I went back to my skincare company and I said, they need hand sanitizer. Let's get some formulas made. Let's get some product to me and source it to me. And they're like, wow, that's a great idea. And so they did that. I was the first client that they'd done that for. And so they got it to, thousands of product to me. And that's what got people kind of to the store. And that helped me, help me start that line. But one of the things that was good for my mental health, it just gave me something to do during the day. Like, I have to be busy. My mind needs to be working, kind of churning on new things, and my hands need to be doing something. And my staff members laugh because I went and plugged myself up down at the front desk next to my front desk coordinator, and have been up there. That's my new desk, is up at the front desk, because there's nobody in the lobby. And so they laugh because now I just sit up there, and I have a private office, and they're like, are you going to ever go back to your private office? Like, can we have that? Can we sublease that if you're not going back? So it just gave me something to do so I wouldn't go nuts during that time too. So that was a blessing in a sense.
Not only that, it keeps your name out there, not only for your current patients, because they're in front of their computers. That was the best part of all of this. You now have the absolute 100% attention of every consumer on the planet. So it was a great time for you to build your brand, build your list.
I had some time. Yeah, it was good. I had some time to dive deep into that and read things just like on Quora and Reddit that I never would have dug that deep at that time unless I'd been on lockdown or whatever. And so, yeah, it's been fun and interesting. It's really cool. I like it. I mean, gosh, my shoulders don't hurt. My neck doesn't ache after it like it does after surgery. It just lightens your world. You're like, could I do this if I retired? I got to find something more expensive to sell online.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting way of doing business, but it is the future. I mean, it's definitely the way things are trending.
Well, do you feel like the skincare is a gateway to get to know you surgically?
I think so. I mean, I think anything like, but at this point in your career, I mean, I don't know. It would be hard. My fellow has been looking and, like kind of researching, and it might be hard for her to just walk up, start from day one of practice and put a skincare line out there, because there's no name recognition or at all. There's no brand recognition, and she probably needs to put her money to other things right now. So it might take a new person a little while, or a resident or fellow if you just graduated. I'm not saying this is something to do right away, but I think if you have a little bit of name recognition, it helps for sure. It just builds on it. It's just an automatic stream of marketing and revenue. And so that's helped a lot. And like you said, you hit the nail on the head. It's my own patient base in New York and Austin that we had, we use MailChimp. We kind of migrated all Constant Contacts to MailChimp, and they do.
What was the reason for that?
I think there's more versatility and integrations with Shopify, and more marketing, versatility within MailChimp is, I can't even explain it all, because some of the people that I hired do that, but they're able to build beautiful emails and they track everything. But it's my own patient base that are the biggest buyers, as you can understand, because they trust you already. They know you already. And so that's nice. When those emails go out, we usually see every time we see an uptick, we know the phone starts ringing, or the little notifiers on the phone go off from an order, and that's because we send an email to our patients. So that's very nice. And the thing that you can hold close, and think, when we are back in business, which is kind of starting now, just internally, when they walk in, we have a curio with all the products and the hand sanitizers, and so we sell that. That's an easy way to sell internally, is just have it right there at front desk. But it wasn't built to be an internal marketing thing. It wasn't built so I can give product away with a bundle with the surgery. It wasn't built that way at all. It was built solely for online sales. But it's very nice. I'm seeing now, Kim, after the end of the day, I'll be like, well, I sold 5 hand sanitizers today. Just, they're sitting here, and everyone wants one, so that's been nice.
And did you outsource the fulfillment as well, or is your staff trying to do that?
No, we actually, yeah, my staff, because when we went live literally like a day or two before lockdown, so we just learned it all together, and it's me and a couple of other people. I mean, my aesthetic fellow said, I want to be here. I don't want to graduate early. How can I help? And I said, go unfold 100 boxes over there and we all became just do it yourselfers. And so that's where we all kind of learned it and melded it together. But it's me and my front desk coordinator, Kim, are the main people fulfilling right now. And I said to Kim, once we started back, I said, if you can't do this, you tell me and I'll hire someone to help you. And she's like, no, I got this right now. I got, Shopify makes things pretty easy. So she doesn't want to give that up. She likes it. I mean, we have fun with it. It's fun. And I just also wanted to mention, as far as the hand sanitizer, we priced it reasonably. And also for everyone, every product that gets bought, we give back. And so I've given back to the whole ICU nursing staff at Harlem Hospital. I've given to a nursing home in Florida. I've given to the Austin Police Department. I just didn't want people to think that this was just for, it's not about just the dollar or anything like that. And so we've donated a ton of that.
Every successful surgeon I know has that pro bono piece to their practice.
Give it back, yeah.
And giving back. Good for
you.
Yeah,
that's the part that makes you feel the best anyway. Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about marketing. What's working? Number one, let's just start with PR. PR and marketing are two different things. You happen to have this PR thing down. You have more PR coverage than almost as much as Grant Stevens. He's pretty good at it too, but you're really good at it. Tell me about that. How did you get into that? How did you know that was the way you wanted to go versus just good old advertising and putting up your website?
Well, I guess I was in New York really when I tapped into some of that, and I think it was right time, right place, as life sometimes is. But being in New York as a mecca, I had several women, friends that I'd gone to college with, whatever, people I knew, personal contacts in New York. So when I was in practice there, I would get, pinged to like, hey, would you like to go do this opportunity on XYZ News or in this magazine? And I would do it. And then I just started to learn it. I feel like part of my brain, it's a real strange brain, but part of it works in the surgical, the real, point A to point B to point C, and nothing deviates from that. And then there's another part that's just out there. And I feel like in another life, I probably could have done something in the realm of marketing or public relations, because it kind of comes easier to me. And so I am able to come up with ideas maybe that someone might not have thought of. And I think that's where all of that coverage I opened myself up to it. And, me, as you've heard, media begets media. And so that New York based, started it. I was on Fox News a lot, before it was incredibly polarizing today. And so it's almost a bad word, but I was on Fox News quite a lot as a medical commentator. And Good Morning America, and in some print magazines. I've had a publicist every now and then for certain periods in my life. For example, when I moved from New York, my practice, to Austin, I had one based in Austin that was going to help me with their transition. But it's not like I have a PR person on staff, and I don't have a PR person on retainer or anything like that, because that part has come more natural to me. So that's it on that. But I enjoy it, and some of the magazine and the print covers, I really enjoy that. So every now and then it'll just be the right time, right place. And, there's nothing wrong with if someone contacts you and they run a magazine, they own a magazine, and it has nothing to do with you. It's Golfing Digest or whatever, automobile, asking them, do they have other magazines? Do they know anybody else? Just asking the right questions, I think, is incredibly important. And just, every now and then you'll meet someone that might be like, would you be interested in being on the cover? And I just will say, yeah. And it doesn't have to be a plastic surgery magazine. So that I think that media growth print has just grown because I'm open and I may asking the right questions of people who have connections and are in that industry, is a good thing, without coming off as like, I want to be in, I've got to be in print. And that it's nothing like that. It's more of just passing these questions along and letting people learn about you and telling your story and letting them hear your story.
Well, it's helpful to have the story because that's what they're looking for. I used to do a lot of PR years ago, and I would say to the doctors, I need something. You need to give me something to work with here.
Yeah.
I didn't have I need to make a phone call and say, hey, station manager, what do you think about this storyline? Yes or no, good for you, but you've always had the stories.
People, and a good friend of mine who's a PR publicist here, and she's now president of a firm here, just said, the more you can do for them, if you can deliver them a story just on a silver plate and tie it up in a bow, and they don't have to do anything, they're lazy. They just do the story for them, have it ready, have some collateral, have some pictures, then the more likely it is it's going to happen. So yeah, you have to be proactive for sure without being irritating to them.
Regarding marketing, what other marketing channels do you use today? And are they any different from last year?
I mean, I think I would say today, different from last year, is I'm almost 100% online digital. And that has occurred because because of my skincare line that got me very, very interested in e-commerce, the lighting there. But then COVID, I mean, there's not many touch points, physical touch points with people anymore. So, handing people magazines and newsletters at my practice, that's not really something we do much of anyway, but it's kind of gone by the wayside, brochures, all that stuff. So I use Facebook ads. I think that's like a staple, really, a Facebook and Instagram ads.
Are you getting good ROI from those, by the way? Because I get such spotty results.
So I think being a plastic surgeon with medical spas where you can put ads up for kind of generic content about beauty and not, I mean, you can't put up anything about vaginal rejuvenation and breast augmentation, understanding how Facebook works, which is it changes every day. But for example, I just put up, my practice manager said, I think we should do a smart graft or hair restoration campaign because men are all at home on computers. They're working from home, they can recover. And so I just popped up a smart graft ad campaign, 20% off within 5 minutes of her telling me that's a great idea, Barb, let's do that. That's a perfect idea. And she was like, and that's passive revenue for you. So it's things like that, like hair restoration, Botox, fillers, skin tightening. I don't do much Facebook ads for like I said, like surgery, like nose or rhinoplasty or breast augmentation, because they'll shut it down. They'll say it's, like it's deemed whatever, like not it's real.
Everyone's self-esteem and
confidence, self-esteem issue.
Surgery that they
unexpectedly good results, whatever. And so I don't do that so much. I'm trying to think. I regularly had done Google ad campaigns, and when COVID came, I use Advice Media, who I highly recommend. They're very great. They have a wonderful owner, Chad Erickson, who's very ethical. But I do that, but I stopped them. The day that the governor said you're shutting your business down, I said shut down Google ads. I don't have anything to sell. There's no patients. So for Google ads for my practice, I haven't even gone back to doing them. I don't even know if I will. I want to see how busy we are without them because it's expensive, the pay-per-click. And I kind of like the Facebook and Instagram. I can just control that right there on my iPhone and see all the analytics. I know I can on Google too, but I just, for some reason, Google ads, they just are not interesting to me right this moment in time.
No, I agree. I like the Facebook. Well, actually, let me back up. She also just gave you another pearl. When Dr. Walden has an idea, she executes immediately and tests it out. She doesn't think about it. She doesn't have a big meeting on it. She doesn't plan it for 2 months.
That's totally me.
Yeah, and that, well, trust me, I'm in that ballpark too. And that means a lot. There are a lot of failures, but there are also a lot of successes. And we don't waste a lot of time. Just get it done. See if it works. If it does, great. If it doesn't, drop it. It's
And there's so many things. I just think everybody should. There's so many things I've tried and been a like losing situation. Like it's not like everything I mean, sometimes people joke, everything you touch turned to gold. And that's not true. That's a nice compliment. But there's so many things I've done that have not worked, or I've tried this company or that company or this platform, and it was like, and I just don't have a meeting about it. We don't have to have a grand congress about it. I just turn it off then. Or no, I always know when I sign anything or if I signed onto a digital marketing company for New York, say, I know exactly my terms, like how many days notice do I have to give? And I try to get those down. I don't want to give 90 days notice. If I want something off, I want just 30. I want to give 30 days notice. But so COVID was a nice excuse to turn off some of the things that have been turned on for so long. I mean, and I'm not going to name names of like digital companies out there, but there's so many that have been taking my money for a while. But it was nice with COVID that you could nicely say, no, I don't, I really don't need that. That profile anymore on XYZ. Thank you so much. It's just, I don't need it. We're not open. And so now I get the chance to start fresh, and I am not turning some of everything I was doing. I'm not going to redo. I don't need to really. And like the world is just totally shifted on its axis. So life is going to be different. So we don't need everything we were doing before.
Well, this was the perfect time to really reevaluate everything you're doing and say, yeah, my tagline is, if you can't track the results, then you don't put the money into it. You've got to, if we have to be digital and be tech savvy in today's world, the beautiful part of that is everything is completely tracked. So if they can't tell you that, you gave them this many thousands of dollars and they gave you back this many thousands of dollars.
Exactly.
By the way, the ROI, remember in the old days, everyone at all the meetings, they always said you always must get a 4:1 ROI ratio, or then it was sometimes 10-1, and the number fluctuating, depending on who you were talking to. Do you follow anything like that when it comes to marketing results? And are they all tangible results? Are there any intangible results?
I don't follow that 10-1 or 4:1. And I think that's just because I kind of became of age and passed my boards and started practice at the very inception of like people putting up websites and digital marketing. And so there's so many intangibles, but I for me, the ROI on I just have different buckets. And so, it's more general than that. I don't hold myself to these rules. And so for a med spa, the ROI might be a little lower because our price points are lower. So for a certain campaign, I might not spend as much. If we're just talking Facebook ads or something, I might turn them off sooner or something like that. Now, if I'm doing something for surgery and I want the ROI to be higher, right? Because surgery, I am able to bring in more dollars for a surgical procedure. So you're going to probably see higher ROI. And then when I started to brand this skincare line, really what you learn is you price up, you're going to get, 2-1, you're going to just double the price, and that's going to be your return on your investment, unless you are maybe a real well-known legacy brand that's, prices something at like $200 for 6 ounces, which I can't do that. No. So I have normal prices as accessible, but that ROI is much smaller. It's one thing that's happened is made me very grateful. We're doing that skincare thing and seeing how much you put a lot of energy into it, right? And you watch those sales come through, and you made $25, and you're like so excited about that $25, and you're like, well, I can't believe I wasn't grateful for that $16,000 case that I had 3 months ago before COVID happened. And now I'm so much more grateful. I think it's like Brene Brown that teaches you to the grateful when you're anxious. That's all I could do. Instead of bringing anxiety of like how much I used to bring in before COVID, now I just think I'm so grateful that I have these two hands and I have this skill that I can continue to do, because the ROI is so much higher. But when you're there and you're selling skincare and you make $20 and you're extremely happy on it, and, get a good shipping rate, it opens your eyes to what we have, and that we have a gift, and to use it wisely. And that's to be able to perform surgical procedures on the human body and that sort of thing.
For sure. So let's talk about kind of like the mindset because I'm fascinated with your mindset. You have not only do you have med spas, 2 med spas in Austin, a surgery center in Austin, a med spa in New York. You also have 2 young boys.
Yeah.
How the heck are you pulling all this off?
Well, I think the more you do, the more you're capable of doing.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't it saying always give a busy person the task, because they're the ones who will get it done?
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. So, I don't know I don't know exactly where I'm trying to decipher what that means, but I agree exactly what you said. And I just think the more you do, the more you're capable of doing, because you learn how to do it. You learn how to compartmentalize your life and to put it, you learn how to do it efficiently. You learn how to delegate, which is a big deal. I have staff I depend on, and I have a wonderful support network of help nannies here at my home. You know, I have a nanny that's been with me for years, and I have a male au pair, and my mom and my sister and my brothers live in Austin. So a wonderful and loving support network and people I depend on. So then I think the more I'm able to do, the, you know, I get more time because I'm delegating that. And so it's an interesting concept though, but it really is true. And so while it seems crazy and that I'm crazy, I really actually have some downtime. Like today I got to do this with you, and I'm doing nothing here today, and it's wonderful. I love doing nothing, but it's because I have those people that are so great. And you know, it's not all roses, and staff's not always happy with what I have to say, or in, you know, vice versa. But it's because of that. It's because of that the people I depend on are great.
But I also see you on social medias. And the thing about social media and surgeons is you had to become the content. And so that just added a whole other layer of what you need to be a good, well-known surgeon in today's world. You need you. You know, in the old days, we could just pass it off. You pass it off to people like me, and I market. And now you can't. Now you've got to be the marketer. So how much of your time is spent on social?
I would just say probably I do it. You know, the good thing is it's all on your phone, and the apps are on your phone, and so it's real easy to do at night. And so I may spend I may spend 30 minutes to an hour looking at social media or doing something related to social media. But as far as content, I have a assistant in New York that is really creative, and she does great content for Skintology Med Spa. And then the skincare, as I'd mentioned, I do have a firm that's helping me with that, because I had no idea how to launch online a skincare brand and do all those cool pictures. I couldn't have done that in my bedroom. But then my personal social, it takes literally, like, you know, 10 seconds to upload a picture of you with your sons or your puppy dog or whatever it is. So that doesn't take as much time because it's also digitized and it's all on our iPhone. So, and I think that is the truth though, isn't it? That now the brand, you, the surgeon, are having to do this because our patients are now expecting and seeing and learning about you, the person, because everybody else is doing that, right? Whether it's a rhinoplasty surgeon or the weight loss surgeon, we're learning about them and what they do in their daily life on social now. So there is that expectation. It really, it's interesting. I was thinking about that, and I learned, I feel like I know people so much better because of social media. I know intimate details of their life, you know, a surgeon, whether they're in Washington, D.C. or Seattle, because they really put it out there on social media. I mean, there's some people that do too much, but for the most part, you know, it's just about learning about them, the person. They're a human being, and I think that's what patients want. They want that touch point of knowing you're human. You have a heart, and despite your skills, you're going to take great care of them, and that sort of thing.
For sure. And I don't see social media going away. So anybody who's not embracing it, I think you're going to miss out a lot, because the patients now want to know you as a surgeon and as a multidimensional spouse, a parent, hiker, you know, dog lover. They want to know who you are. As
right.
You know.
I agree.
So to wrap it up, any last words of wisdom for the world?
No, I think we've gone over an incredible amount. It's been very fun. I appreciate you having me on this podcast.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much. And I will see you at the top, because apparently AACS president, kudos to you. Good for you. Well, what do you think the ETA is on that? Is there a time track?
Let's see. So Dr. Herluf Lund is the president now, and then the president-elect is Bill Adams. They're both just wonderful men. They're great leaders. And then I will have to fill those big shoes, and that'll be after Bill Adams then.
Wow. Congratulations.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. So everybody, if you enjoyed this, would you please go to Beauty and the Biz and subscribe? And I'd love a great review as well if you found some value in this, because I would like to grow this, and I need, you know, like everybody else, I need likes and shares and and all of that, and subscribes. And then please do share it with your colleagues and your staff. And if you got any comments for me, please, you can leave them on my website at CatherineMaley.com, or you can DM me at Instagram at CatherineMaleyMBA. Thanks so much. Talk again.